The wind whispered through the desolate trees, their skeletal branches reaching out like gnarled fingers in the dim moonlight. The roads stretched endlessly, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the heart of nowhere. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, where the silence was so profound that even the sound of one's own heartbeat became an intrusion. Diana and Mark, a couple in their mid-30s, were driving through eerie landscape on their way to remote cabin. The only source of illumination was their car's headlights, casting long shadows that danced on the edges of their vision. The navigation system displayed a single message: continue on the current road. The voice, robotic and detached, echoed through the car's interior. The road seemed to go on forever, surrounded by dense woods on both sides. As they drove deeper into the night, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He stole glances at their rearview mirror, half expecting to see phantom headlights trailing them. Diana, lost in thought, gazed out into the darkness. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the middle of a road. Mark slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching in protest. The headlights illuminated the woman, her tattered white dress blowing in the wind. Her long, disheveled hair obscured her face, and she stood there motionless. Diana gasped, gripping the edges of her seat. Mark cautiously rolled down his window. "Are you okay?" He called out into the night. The woman remained silent, her head tilted slightly to the side. Mark felt a chill run down his spine, an inexplicable unease settling in the pit of his stomach.
"We should go,"
Diana urged, her voice shaky. Mark hesitated for a moment, then reluctantly pressed the gas pedal. As they drove past the mysterious woman, he stole one last glance at her in the rearview mirror. She was gone. The road continued its monotonous journey through the wilderness, the darkness swallowing everything in its path. The couple tried to shake off the encounter, dismissing it as a trick of the imagination, yet that mass fare inside the car remained heavy with an unspoken tension. Miles passed, and the cabin they thought seemed to be an elusive destination. The dense forest pressed in on them, the trees closing ranks as if conspiring to keep the intruders at bay. The road, now more narrow and winding, twisted through the heart of the wilderness like a serpent. Then out of nowhere, the car's headlights flickered, the engines puttered, and the vehicle came to an abrupt halt. Mark cursed under his breath, attempting to restart the engine to no avail.
"We are in the middle of nowhere,"
Diana said, her voice tinged with panic. Mark got out of the car, popping the hood open. He fumbled with the engine, trying to identify the issue. The forest around them seemed to close in, its silent inhabitants watching their every move. Diana, feeling a sense of vulnerability, scanned the surroundings. The shadows seemed to move, whispering secrets that only the night knew. Her eyes fixated on the trees, half expecting to see the mysterious woman in white. As Mark struggled with the engine, he noticed the distant sound footsteps, soft and deliberate, as if someone was approaching. He looked up, his gaze piercing the darkness.
Diana, do you hear that?
She strained her ears, and the footsteps grew louder. Panic set in as they realized there was no logic reason for anyone to be walking through the woods at this hour.
We need to leave.
Mark abandoned the car, grabbing Diana's hand. As they walked briskly in the opposite direction of the approaching footsteps, the trees seemed to close in, casting elongated shadows that danced in the moonlight. The air was thick with tension, and the couple quickened their pace. They stumbled upon an old, dilapidated shack hidden in the shadows. It stood like a relic of a forgotten time, its windows shattered and its doors barely hanging on its hinges. Desperation forced them inside, seeking refuge from the encroaching darkness. Inside the shack, the air was stale, and the only light came from the moon, filtering through the broken windows. The couple huddled in a corner, their breath visible in the cold, damp air. The footsteps outside ceased, replaced by an eerie silence. It was as if the forest itself held its breath, waiting for something to unfold. Mark and Diana exchanged worried glances, their senses heightened. Suddenly, a soft whisper echoed through the shack. "Leave this place." The voice seemed to come from all directions, a ghostly presence that surrounded them. Mark and Diana clung to each other, paralyzed by fear.
Who's there?
Mark called out, his voice trembling. No response. The whispering continued, more insistent now, as if the very walls held secrets that demanded to be heard. A cold gust of wind swept through the shack, extinguishing the feeble flame of hope that flickered within the couple. Shadows danced on the walls, contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock their vulnerability. With a sudden jolt, the door creaked open, revealing the moonlit forest beyond. The couple hesitated, caught between the safety of the shack and the unknown terror that lurked outside. As they stepped into the night, the footsteps resumed, now louder and more frenetic. The couple stumbled through the darkness, guided only by the pale glow of the moon. The road, once a lifeline through the desolation, now felt like a maze leading them further into the heart of the unknown. The trees whispered ancient secrets, and the shadows played tricks on their senses. In the distance, the woman in the tattered white dress appeared again, her figure illuminated by an otherworldly glow. Mark and Diana, driven by a sense of morbid curiosity, approached her cautiously.
"Leave,"
she whispered, her voice echoing through the stillness of the night.
"Who are you?"
Diana asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman lifted her head, revealing empty eye sockets that seemed to absorb the darkness around them.
"This road belongs to the lost. Turn back before it claims you too."
With those haunting words, the woman dissolved into the shadows, leaving Mark and Diana alone on the lost highway. They stood there, paralyzed by the realization that the road they sought to conquer was, in fact, a gateway to the unknown. The wind carried whispers of forgotten souls, and the trees bore witness to the countless tales of those who had ventured into the abyss. Mark and Diana, gripped by an unrelenting fear, turned away from the endless road in the distance. The shack stood as a silent reminder of the thin veil between the living and the unknown. As they retraced their steps, the footsteps faded into the night, swallowed by the vast expanse of the forest. The road, now a foreboding path etched into their memories, became a haunting tale to be whispered around campfires. The lost highway remained a secret, guarded by the shadows and the echoes of lost souls who wandered its haunted stretch. And in the heart of the wilderness, the couple, forever changed by the horrors they encountered, carried the weight of that desolate night, where the road seemed to lead not to a destination, but to the very essence of fear itself. Follow our YouTube channel for more mysterious, dark, and horror stories every day and night.